بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to yet another episode of Steps to Perfection, the program live on Ahlul Bayt TV, where we attempt to improve our Quran recitation skills and also our Quranic understanding. We'll begin with the Quran recitation, and inshallah, we will have some tips and advice, which inshallah you would find useful and helpful. And then we'll follow that by the participant recitation, and we'll try to give them feedback. And on their feedback, you may pick up some points that would be relevant to your own recitation as well, or your own recitation journey. As we said before, learning our recitation, we all need to work hard to improve our recitation, irrespective of the level of recitation that we're at. And it is a journey. So let's work on it, and let's go through this journey and make sure we make the best out of it. We will begin with a Quran recitation now. As I said, we'll recite from Ayah 53, Surah to Yusuf. It's the beginning of the 13th Juz'u. Ayah 53, Surah Yusuf. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما أبرئ نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي إن ربي غفور رحيم. وقال الملك ائتوني به أستخلصه لنفسي وقال الملك ائتوني به أستخلصه لنفسي فلما كلمه قال إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين. قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. وكذلك مكنا ليوسف في الأرض يتبوأ منها حيث يشاء نصيب برحمتنا من نشاء ولا نضيع أجر المحسنين. ولأجر الآخرة خير للذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. وجاء إخوة يوسف فدخلوا عليه فعرفهم وهم له منكرون. ولما جهزهم بجهازهم قال ائتوني بأخ لكم من أبيكم ألا ترون أني أوفي الكيل وأنا خير المنزلين. فإن لم تأتوني به فلا كيل لكم عندي ولا تقربون. قالوا سنراود عنه أباه وإنا لفاعلون. وقال لفتيانه اجعلوا بضاعتهم في رحالهم لعلهم يعرفونها إذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم لعلهم يرجعون. فلما رجعوا إلى أبيهم قالوا يا أبانا منع منا الكيل فأرسل معنا أخانا نكتل وإنا له لحافظون. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الأمين وصدق بذلك مولانا أمير المؤمنين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. We mentioned yesterday that we are expected that we recite the Quran with sorrow, and we recite the Quran with the emotions which are relevant to the challenges that we will be facing ahead in the afterlife. And this is why the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, which said, "Inna al-Quran nazala bil-huzn, فإذا قرأتموه فابكوا فإن لم تبكوا فتباكوا," which the hadith we recited and we translated, which says the Quran was revealed with sorrow, in a sorrowful manner. And if you recite Quran, do weep and cry. And if you're unable to cry, then pretend to be crying. Be in that position of crying. Bring yourself to that level of sorrowfulness. Bring yourself to that level of emotions which are relevant to what you are facing, what you will be facing in the afterlife. Because at the end of the day, even the ones who live the most here will live for 70, 80, 100, 120 years. But what's ahead of us in the afterlife is 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years. And I know it's difficult for us as human beings to think about these numbers. I mean, who can think and imagine, being in a state, in a certain state for 1,000 years or even 100,000 years? It's very difficult for us to imagine. And in fact, it's very relevant. And this is actually Ahlul Bayt taught us that it's very relevant to exactly how a baby in his mother's womb would feel if the baby would be able to talk, and you tell the baby that, by the way, there is a world that is thousands of miles wide, and you've got day and night, and you have the variety of food, and you have the variety of creatures that you would be interacting with. Well, how can that baby, being in the womb of his mother, understand and comprehend? So the massive difference between that world, confined within a short and a very tight space, confined and restricted to a very, very restricted diet. There is hardly any movement, and there is no understanding of the variation of day and night, and animals and creatures and plants and food, and all these variety and all these different feelings and colors and sounds that we would be hearing. It's a hugely different world between the mother's womb and this world. Now, the difference between this world and the next is even greater, and that is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam partly demands and expects from us that we sometimes give some thought to this, especially when we are reciting Quran. Why? Because Quran is very clear. Quran is telling us, and it is something that we very often forget. Quran is very clearly telling us what's coming ahead. That there will be two states. You either will be going to paradise, and in paradise you will be rewarded, and you will have a comfortable, happy, absolutely delightful being, or there will be hellfire, and hellfire will be gross and gruesome and really, graphically depicted in the Holy Quran, of the boiling water which is mixed with dirt and mixed with disgusting smell and disgusting taste, that at best those who will be, la samahallah, may Allah protect you and us from that ending, those who will be going to hellfire would be experiencing the fire itself, the heat, the terrible state, the pain. And this is not to scare us. This is the result of our own actions. I mean, imagine those who contribute to the world's misery and devastation. Well, the result of their actions is misery and devastation for themselves. Those who contribute to the world of pain for others, as opposed to those who contribute to the world of um, cure and medicine and help and care and support and kindness. Well, what do you expect from the most merciful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most generous? They will receive the most kind, the most caring, the most beautiful of rewards. So it's a two-way equation. It's the result of our own actions. Just like building a house. If you build a nice house, then you will enjoy looking at it. If you build a like a disfigured house, you will not enjoy looking at it. If you build your life in this world in a way which will be beautiful for you and for others, which will be helpful and caring and kind and respectful and obedient, most importantly, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you can expect the most, the most excellent of results, the most brilliant of rewards. On the other hand, if one, la samahallah, conducts a life of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of hurt and harm and misery to others, of a life of complete disregard for others' rights and for others' dignity, whether be it in a position of authority or simply in a position of living as a human being, then the expectation that the result, the outcome of such actions will be in kind, will be in the same way and in the same manner and in the same path that one lays down for oneself. So we go back to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is attempting to help us think of our ending and our new life, which is the afterlife, which would be much longer, much more profound, much more comprehensive, and everlasting. And Quran is the best of reminders. So we need to make sure that when we recite Quran, we bring these concepts, we bring these principles, we bring these ideas and ideals to the forefront of our minds. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would allow us to do that. Now we would listen to our dear participants who would like to go first.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال هل آمنكم عليه إلا كما أمنتكم على أخيه من قبل فالله خير حافظا وهو أرحم الراحمين. ولما فتحوا متاعهم وجدوا بضاعتهم ردت إليهم قالوا يا أبانا ما نبغي هذه بضاعتنا ردت إلينا ونمير أهلنا ونحفظ أخانا ونزداد كيل بعيد ذلك كيل يسير. قال لن أرسله معكم حتى تؤتون موثقا من الله لتأتونني به إلا أن يحاط بكم فلما آتوه موثقهم قال الله على ما نقول وكيل. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أحسن. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Very good recitation, mashallah. May Allah bless you and protect you and give you even more success on this path of Quran. The things to bear in mind is ma nabghi. So I know you did it, but you just need a fraction more clarity in your ba and ghain. ما نبغي. قالوا يا أبانا ما نبغي هذه بضاعتنا ردت إلينا. And then also ذلك كيل يسير. يسير ترقيق الراء. If you say ذلك كيل يسير, يسير تفخيم الراء, which is wrong. ذلك كيل يسير. يسير. Okay, but overall a very good recitation. أحسنت. Who's next?
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقال يا بني لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة وما أغني عنكم من الله من شيء إن الحكم إلا لله عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل المتوكلون. ولما دخلوا من حيث أمرهم أبوهم ما كان يغني عنهم من الله من شيء Sorry, 1 second, the Quran went away. ما كان يغني عنهم من الله من شيء إلا حاجة في نفس يعقوب قضاها وإنه لذو علم لما علمناه ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. ولما دخلوا على يوسف آوى إليه أخاه قال إني أنا أخوك فلا تبتئس بما كانوا يعملون. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Ahsant, beautiful recitation and a beautiful melody as well. And that you can feel that listening to that recitation, you can more sense the emotions and the relevant feeling that you would get out of reverence to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's word. So Ahsant, that is very good. I would say things to bear in mind is unnecessary mad. وَقَالَ يَا بُنَيْ وَقَالَ يَا بُنَيْ. There is no mad in وَقَالَ. So we recited وَقَالَ يَا بَنِي. وَقَالَ يَا بَنِي لَا تَدْخُلُوا. وَقَالَ يَا بَنِي. There is no mad, so we don't elongate it. And the same with أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ولما دخلوا من حيث أمرهم أبوهم ما كان يغني عنهم. Okay, we don't give it any med. There is no med in here. And the third thing to bear in mind, ما كان يغني عنهم من الله من شيء. There is a two haraka emphasis here because of ikhfa. And ikhfa really is that we, if you like, we overlook, we overstretch from meme to sheen. We skip the noon, and instead of saying min shay, the way that Arabs would have recited this, the original Arabs at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is believed to be the way they've recited it was min shay. So they attempt to recite the sheen and skip the noon. They kind of connect the meme to the sheen, and they don't recite. Ahsant, good recitation. Who's next?
السلام عليكم سيد.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فلما جهزهم بجهازهم جعل السقاية في رحل أخيه ثم أذن مؤذن أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون. قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون؟ قالوا نفقد صواع الملك ولمن جاء به حمل بعير وأنا به زعيم. قالوا تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض وما كنا سارقين. قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين؟ قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. صدق الله العظيم.
أحسن. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Okay. We try to keep the pace of our recitation the same. So your pronunciation was very good. Your pronunciation of the letters was very clear, and that's very helpful, and that's very good. And also your ability to recite the words was well organized. In order to keep our pace the same, we need to make sure that we don't go suddenly too quickly or too slow, especially in the beginning and the end. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم should be in a very similar pace to صدق الله العلي العظيم. And we have to sense this. I mean, this is what we're trying to remind, to sense these feelings when we are reciting, so that we sense these statements, these words which we are uttering. Ahsant, good recitation. Hassan.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فبدأ بأوعيتهم قبل وعاء أخيه ثم استخرجها من وعاء أخيه كذلك كدنا ليوسف ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء الله نرفع درجات من نشاء وفوق كل ذي علم عليم. قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل فأسرها يوسف في نفسه ولم يبدها لهم قال أنتم شر مكانا والله أعلم بما تصفون. قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إنا نراك من المحسنين. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Ahsant, good recitation and a good melody as well. It's a balanced melody, and that's that's good, and also the variety. So you gave us some variety, but not completely out of order. Sometimes you can, you can introduce this variety in your recitation, but in a measured way. So you don't go too low in your voice, you don't go too high in your voice, but you show us some variation, and that variation even further attracts the listener to the recitation, and that's very good. Ahsan. I would say be mindful of علامات الوقف a bit more. نرفع درجات من نشاء. There is a qala, الوقف أولى. It would have been better to stop there. قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل. قاف. Qaf is one of those not very easy letters. We need to be mindful that qaf is not mixed with ghain or mixed with kaf. سرق سرق أخ له من قبل فأسرها يوسف في نفسه. So need to be very careful in the clarity of qaf. Qaf should not be mixed with kaf. So we shouldn't say saraka. Of course, that would be wrong. It is saraqa, and it should not be mixed with ghain. So we shouldn't say saragha. Okay. I'm not saying you did that. I'm just saying we need to be mindful that every one of us need to be mindful of qaf, because it could be easily mixed with these other letters. Overall, very good recitation. Ahsant. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. I still would prefer it if you're a little bit slower than that. Just a little bit. Thank you very much, brothers. And thank you, listeners and viewers across the world. Until the next episode.